Anna Walsh's disappearance is one of the most widely discussed missing person cases connected to New Year's Day in recent years. Anna was last seen in the early morning hours of January 1st, 2023, after spending New Year's Eve at her home in Cohasset, Massachusetts. According to reports, she had dinner with her husband and planned to travel to Washington, D.C. shortly afterward for work. When Anna failed to board her scheduled flight and could not be reached, concerns were raised by her employer. A missing person investigation was opened soon after. During the investigation, authorities reported finding evidence that suggested foul play, including surveillance footage and physical evidence recovered from the home. Despite extensive searches conducted in multiple locations, Anna Walsh's body has never been recovered. Her husband has since been charged in connection with her disappearance. However, the case remains legally unresolved, and many details continue to be examined through the court system. As of now, no definitive public explanation has been established for what happened after that New Year's Eve. What makes this case particularly notable is the timing. Anna was last seen during a major holiday when many people are distracted by celebrations, travel, and end-of-year routines. Investigators believe this may have delayed early recognition that something was wrong. Until further evidence is presented and legal proceedings conclude, Anna Walsh's disappearance remains an open and deeply serious case. Authorities continue to emphasize that any conclusions must be based on verified information rather than speculation. Cases like this highlight how disappearances can occur even during highly visible communal moments, and why accurate reporting and respectful discussion are essential when examining unresolved investigations. Mary Flanagan's disappearance is one of the oldest unresolved missing person cases connected to New Year's Eve in the United Kingdom. On December 31st, 1959, Mary Flanagan left her home in East London with plans to attend a New Year's Eve gathering. According to the information available, she expected to meet friends later that evening. She never arrived, and no confirmed sightings of her were reported after she left. In the days following her disappearance, there were no immediate signs pointing to what might have happened. At the time, it was not uncommon for missing adults to be assumed to have left voluntarily, which meant early investigative efforts were limited. This initial delay likely reduced the amount of reliable evidence that could be collected. As concern grew, authorities eventually opened a formal missing person investigation. By then, however, many critical details were already difficult to verify. Witness memories faded, potential routes she may have taken were unclear, and there were no known physical clues to establish where she might have gone. Over the years, investigators considered various possibilities, including accidental harm or the involvement of another individual. However, no witnesses came forward with definitive information, and no suspects were ever formally identified. There was also no physical evidence discovered that could confirm whether a crime had taken place. The case has been reviewed multiple times over the decades, but each review has reached the same conclusion. There is simply not enough verified information to determine what happened to Mary Flanagan. Her disappearance remains officially unsolved. Today, Mary Flanagan is still listed among long-term missing persons in the United Kingdom. Her case reflects the investigative challenges of the era and demonstrates how a lack of early documentation can leave families and authorities without answers for generations. Justin Aspengren was 25 years old when he was last seen on New Year's Eve in 2016 in Des Plaines, Illinois. According to reports, that night marked the final confirmed sighting of him. Afterward, Justin effectively vanished, leaving behind no clear trail explaining where he went or why. One of the earliest red flags in the case was the sudden halt in Justin's digital activity. His cell phone stopped registering activity shortly after he was last seen. There were no outgoing calls, text messages, or data usage. At the same time, his bank accounts showed no withdrawals, purchases, or transactions of any kind. For investigators, this complete silence suggested an abrupt and unexplained break from his normal behavior. Police examined Justin's known movements leading up to New Year's Eve, attempting to determine where he may have gone after he was last seen. They reviewed possible locations, checked with acquaintances, and followed up on tips, but no confirmed sightings were established. There was no evidence indicating he traveled, checked into a hotel, or left the area voluntarily. Another troubling aspect of the case is the absence of physical evidence. None of Justin's personal belongings, such as his phone, wallet, or vehicle, were publicly confirmed to have been recovered in a way that explained his disappearance. Without these items, investigators were left without clues that might indicate whether an accident, a crime, or another circumstance was involved. As time passed, the lack of evidence became one of the defining features of the case. Unlike disappearances where fragments of information slowly emerge, Justin's case remained largely static. There were no credible leads pointing toward foul play, but there was also nothing suggesting he intentionally vanished. Family members stated that Justin had no known reason to leave without telling anyone. He had ongoing relationships, responsibilities, and plans for the future. This made the idea of a voluntary disappearance increasingly difficult to reconcile with the facts. Despite continued efforts by law enforcement and media attention from outlets like ABC 7 Chicago, the investigation produced no breakthrough. Years later, Justin Aspengren remains missing, and the circumstances surrounding his disappearance remain unclear. The evidence in this case, the silence of his phone, the lack of financial activity, and the absence of witnesses or physical clues, raises difficult questions that have yet to be answered. Until new information emerges, Justin's disappearance remains one of the many modern cases where someone seemingly stepped out of view and never returned. Xtaviola Weems was 24 years old when she was reported missing on New Year's Eve. According to police and media reports, she was last seen after leaving a hospital in the Detroit area. Authorities later confirmed that when she left the hospital, she did not have her phone or necessary medications with her. This detail became one of the most concerning aspects of the case. Investigators emphasized that Xtavia's lack of access to communication and medication significantly increased the urgency of the search. Without a phone, there was no way to track calls, messages, or location data that might indicate where she went after leaving the hospital. Police began searching the surrounding area shortly after her disappearance was reported. Officers canvassed neighborhoods near the hospital, checked transit routes, and asked for the public's help in identifying anyone who may have seen her that night. Despite these efforts, no confirmed sightings were reported in the immediate aftermath. Another challenge in the investigation was the absence of clear direction. Authorities were unable to determine whether Xtavia left on foot, entered a vehicle, or encountered someone after departing the hospital. Surveillance footage, if available, did not publicly provide a clear answer, leaving investigators without a definitive path to follow. Family members expressed concern about Xtavia's well-being, emphasizing that her disappearance was out of character and that she would not normally leave without her belongings. The lack of medication raised additional worries about her safety in the hours and days following her disappearance. As time passed, the search expanded beyond the immediate area, but no physical evidence was publicly identified that could explain what happened. There were no recovered personal items, no confirmed digital trail, and no witnesses who could reliably place her after she left the hospital. Authorities have stated that the case remains open and that any new information could be critical. Until new evidence emerges, what happened to her after leaving the hospital on New Year's Eve remains unknown.